Autotune, lip syncing, old retired men. What do these things have in common? Well, they're all critical elements in the perfect idol performances we see today from the only real idols, Luna. And I guess from K-pop and like other pop and other music artists, but they're kind of irrelevant. This will be a saga like no other, so strap in and get ready to hear about almost everything related to idol performance and autotune. Autotune has become extremely intertwined with the current music scene, but the process of auto-tuning, aka altering the voice, in a noticeable way in recordings and performance has existed for many years in many different forms. First, the OG, the talkbox. This was known to be created by Bob Heel, but there is some dispute over that fact, so if I'm proven wrong, then, I never said that. It may look scary, but don't worry, it is. This strange little box takes sound from an amplifier produced by a speaker, which then connects to a tube that goes straight into the performer's mouth. The performer can change the shape of their mouth, their tongue placements, and lip syncing to change how the sound gets picked up by the microphone as demonstrated here. The talkbox has a cool name and creates a cool sound, but you're pretty limited with what you can do other than making a sound similar to putting your face against a fan. So, Homer Dudley, once again allegedly, created the vocoder to modulate the voice. The vocoder was originally invented to synthesize speech for radio use. To get technical with it, it's a synthesis system in which speech is passed through a multiband filter. Speech is modulated with instrument pitches instead of vocal pitches, acting as carriers, creating an effect that takes a voice and gives it a robotic sound at a given pitch or chord. So like autotune, you might be thinking, yeah, but it's way more complex and way more software. The first musical use of the vocoder was by Bruce Hack on the electronic record for children in 1969. But it only really got popular after Bruce Hack used it again on his psychedelic rock album, The Electric Lucifer, in 1970. Now moving on to the most modern and widely known vocal manipulation device / software, Autotune. Now this convenient piece of software was originally developed by Dr. Andy Hillebrand, a retired oil engineer who is also conveniently a virtuoso flutist. For context that is needed after, when he was an oil engineer, he created a technique to map out the Earth's subsurface in search for rich oil deposits using signal processing and autocorrelation. Essentially, it has to do with the reflection of sound waves that are recorded to create images of where those oil deposits are. Okay, stick with me. I know this sounds like nothing right now, but trust me, it'll come in handy later. After retiring, when composing with sampling synthesizers, aka a machine that allows musicians to record notes from an instrument, then make them into digital samples that can be played on a keyboard, but found that, and I quote, they sounded like shit. He continued saying that if you sustained a note, it would keep repeating and the machines didn't hold much data, which isn't very convenient if you want multiple notes, which, a song usually has. So he created a processing algorithm that solved the previous two problems, compressing the audio data, which allowed for a more natural sounding timbre and sustain. After this success, he decided to work on larger projects, one of them being the holy grail of music, pitch correction in real time, otherwise known as a box that can make me sound in tune. The biggest issue with correcting pitch in real time is the amount of sound wave data that has to be processed, as well as considering all the trivial details of the human voice. Now, believe it or not, this is where him being an oil engineer comes in handy. When he usually dealt with massive data sets, he would employ autocorrelation, an attribute of signal processing, to examine not just key variables, but all of the data to get much more reliable estimates. The actual math behind Autotune is very elegant, but way too complex for me and you to understand, so for further information, please get an engineering degree. What Hillebrand did that was remarkable was simplification. Sounds dumb, but it's true. As he says, I realized that most of the arithmetic was redundant and couldn't be simplified. My simplification changed 1 million multiple adds into just 4. It was a trick, a mathematical trick. And with that, Autotune was born. Autotune, the program, was developed on Hillebrand's large Macintosh computer in 1996, and it was an instant hit. Autotune changed the music scene completely, with studios being able to simply have this software instead of doing hundreds of takes in the studio, then splicing up the best bits, thus saving time and money. For 3 years, it remained as an underground secret of recording studios to subtly pitch correct artists. That is, until Cher changed the music scene forever with her song, Believe. In this song, there was a line that seemed as if her voice pitch shifted instantly, creating a robotic sound. While designing Autotune, Hildebrand explains, when a song is slower, like a ballad, the notes are long and the pitch needs to shift slowly. For faster songs, the notes are short. The pitch needs to be changed quickly. I built in a dial where you could adjust the speed from 1, which is the fastest, to 10, the slowest. Just for kicks, I put in a 0 setting, which changed the pitch the exact moment it received the signal. And that was what created the Autotune effect. Cher's producers Mark Taylor and Brian Rawling decided to put the dial on 0 to intentionally create a robotic sound that was distinct from any other song heard previously. Other artists like T-Pain also paved the way, creating his voice using a robotic timbre. This had a great impact on the formation of a subgenre of R&B and hip-hop with features of heavy electronic manipulation. Some examples are from Ye's, formerly known as Kanye West's album 808 and Heartbreak, Stronger, will.i.am's group Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling, Ayaz's Replay, and of course, T-Pain's I'm Sprung. It's important to note that hip-hop culture is greatly influential on what gets popularized worldwide, with examples such as fashion, street dance styles, slang, etc. So the true popularization of Autotune, especially in the early 2000s, is thanks to Mr. T-Pain. Now, SoundCloud rappers can use this brilliant piece of technology to make Kung Fu Panda truly the greatest contribution to our society. Now, why did I even talk about Autotune? Because, 1, knowing the vocal manipulation techniques are important to consider, as it creates an impossibly perfect vocal expectation for live performances to live up to, creating a toxic culture alongside it. And 2,
Shawty's like a melody in my head that I can't keep out, got me singing like na 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 every day's like my iPod stuck on replay.
Now to move on to the actual performance aspect. Now that we understand what happens behind the scenes that gets those perfect vocals for albums and other pre-recorded music, let's take a look what happens on stage during performances. There are several variations for what artists do while performing in regards to the song. Number 1. When the singer/rapper is performing live with live instrumentation or an instrumental backtrack. Most fully live performances happen with little movement, usually with people sitting/standing still to ensure that the vocals are as stable as possible. This is usually used for award show stages or just special vocal-only stages where you can see the people who are just sitting or just standing still singing the song. Number 2. When the singer/rapper is performing live with vocal backup. This is usually used for most stages to support the singer in the places where they physically can't sing, or the dance is too difficult to the point where they can't sing stable. For example, in a dance like Blessed Curse by Enhypen, the part where Nicki raps is too challenging physically to sing stable. I mean, like, look at those dance moves, are you kidding me? So he would rap the parts where he could and lip sync the parts where he can't. 3. When the singer/rapper is performing live, but in post-production, autotune and pitch correction tools are applied to fix any pitchiness or stray notes. Many performances are audio processed before being released in the visual media, usually without people being able to notice. One example where that is very obviously used is in idol competition shows such as Island, where you can hear their raw vocals in practice, but in the performance it's magically fixed. It's also used in award show performances and other programs such as Queendom and Kingdom. Number 4.
You wanna feel the vibe, that feeling and loving and imagine.
When raw vocals are recorded beforehand to be put over the instrumental backing track to give the same effect as live singing, but the performers are lip syncing. But like, why? You might be thinking. The directors of a stage may want to film their performance in a certain way, so they are required to cut often, making it unnatural during editing and difficult for the performers, so they just pre-record beforehand. Another reason is that the stage may take place in a public area, which can create noise disturbances such as wind, construction, and other background noises with their mics, which kind of ruins the performance and just makes a bad audience experience. So they often opt for pre-recorded vocals in this case as well. Finally,
hey, sing. How we do it, Ooh, what you waiting for? What you waiting for? Ooh, we about to go.
when the singer is lip syncing to the original master track. I have a lot to say about this, so we're just gonna hop right into another topic. Lip syncing has been a controversial and pretty prominent issue in performances, sometimes making headlines and making people lose respect for that artist because they're being lazy. However, there are a few legitimate reasons that an artist may have to lip sync, and that's important to note before blaming the artist directly. Number 1. Some companies require the artist to lip sync most, if not all the time, in order to keep their groups as perfect in the public eye as possible. One example of this is our lip sync queens, aespa. I'm sorry, I know, but I have to talk about them. aespa are incredibly talented vocals, as shown from the behind-the-scenes videos of them recording in studios, yet they haven't performed live yet for any stages. Most people argue that this is due to their AI concept, so that they can always sound perfect, while others say they just can't sing live, which, I mean, I doubt, but regardless, the company is still making them lip sync on stage, and it's suspected to be due to their policy. Number 2. Being a K-pop idol or a famous artist in general, especially in this time and age, means being under constant scrutiny online, along with, and I do not use this term lightly, jealous haters, who always look for any small mistakes to scrutinize endlessly. Lip syncing can be a way to avoid hate from the public, weirdly enough. Guhar's solo debut, Chocolate Chip Cookie, created a huge controversy online when the MR Removed, which is only live vocals, video went viral. Guhar's performance was much worse than fans were expecting, despite MR Removed videos not being an accurate representation of the artist's actual singing ability. But anyways, they flamed her online, causing her promotions to be cut short. Even though idols have to dance, sing, and focus on having good stage presence at the same time, they're still expected to have the same vocals as the recordings, which, as talked about before in the auto-tune section, isn't even fully realistic when singing because it's been manipulated. Most idols who do perform live often have simple choreography, or are criticized for not dancing as full out or not having good enough stage presence. Another thing though, being an idol and having such a packed schedule, singing live at every performance can create health issues. Over-singing, otherwise known as straining the voice, is caused by overuse or misuse of the voice, leading to vocal deterioration. This later can lead to vocal nodules, which are scarring/growth/bumps on the vocal cords from overuse, making your voice crack or cut when you're talking and can make you sound raspy or hoarse.
This is my vocal malfunction. This is why I can't sing at the moment.
This is typically seen by artists who have extended tours on a tight schedule without sufficient time to properly rest their vocal cords before their next performance. Most professional singers can sing for hours on end multiple times a week. However, there's still a limit to how much one's voice can handle. Doing performance after performance for different award shows for promotions is a massive part of K-pop, with idols actually being the MCs for the award shows such as Inkigayo and Music Bank. It's also important for ensuring the success of a group's music, but doing all those shows live every time can cause vocal deterioration and possibly the development of vocal nodules in the long term. From a study on the impact of vocal and laryngeal pathologies, that is, different functional difficulty in speaking due to physical disorder of the mouth, tongue, throat, or vocal cords, among professional singers, it was discovered that singers who vocally misuse or overuse are at greater use of developing laryngeal pathologies. Basically, you can end up having speech issues if you overuse or misuse your voice, which some people actually do on purpose, called purposeful misuse is to purposefully create a nasally or certain sound within one's voice to make it distinct and instantly recognizable.
Always been like that. See me making waves and you don't like that. Driving through your parties.
Some of these techniques to create distinct sound can cause long-term damage by straining the voice, while others can promote bad technique, creating bad habits and limiting the singer's range. For example, the previous lead singer of 2NE1, now soloist,
Park Bom,
had the most distinct voice in K-pop, described as having a large and full voice. However, over time she developed bad habits by not supporting her voice, causing her tone to become shaky and limiting her range. This is an example of a specialized vocalist not applying proper techniques to keep their skills. However, it should be noted that not all specialized vocalists create these habits. For example, almost all of G-Idol members have unique and distinct vocals, but they don't have any vocal issues. This is because they all take care of their voice, being sure to maintain proper technique while producing these distinct sounds. Now onto the fun part, exercises! Yeah! For this part, you can do it yourself and get the stable vocals of your dreams. But just like every good presentation, we have to start out with the Webster's Dictionary definition. Stabilization is defined as the ability to maintain dynamic stillness in one area of the body to provide a platform of support while generating movement and force in another. We need stabilization to accomplish two tasks. 1, breath management, and 2, stage movement or dancing, in our case. The complex internal movements needed to generate optimal subglottal breath pressure while keeping the larynx disentangled require stabilization around the core, shoulders, rib cage, and for dancing, the pelvis. After all, as said by vocal professional Claudia Friedlander, it is far better for athletes to stabilize the torso by developing adequate strength in the muscles of the core. Now, that's so great, but how do we do that? I understand you. So here are some. There are 5 exercises given to increase core strength in a way that's beneficial for singers. I will do the honor of demonstrating these exercises. As you can see, me in my basement, I'm doing great, amazing. Lightning speed, let's go. Number 1. This movement refers to the act of bending forward or extending your back. These exercises support good alignment and breathing, so it's good for everyday life anyways. Some exercises for this movement are sit-ups, crunches, plank, and side plank, being sure only to engage the ab muscles while relaxing the neck. Number 2. This movement refers to the act of bending your back, bringing the bones closer together, aka the opposite of spinal flexion. These exercises build strength to counter as well as balance the muscles used for flexion. Some exercises for this movement are Superman, standing back extension, leg lifts, back holds, and back holds with arms. Number 3. This movement is pretty self-explanatory. It's when you rotate your spine. Duh. These exercises are good for maintaining stability during twisting or just weird movements or positions in general. Some exercises for this movement are ab bike, straight ab bike, rolling around, pause position, and that thing everybody does on chairs at school. For bonus points, try singing during these. Actually, during all the exercises to practice being stable while activating the stabilization muscles. Number 4. I'm not going to explain this one because it's literally the title. Without stretching after exercising, one can create chronic tension in their abs, which it's not a good thing, restricting their breathing and negatively impacting their ability to breathe fully, which makes it difficult to sing. Now that we have the tools to sing in a stable tone, we just have to figure out a way to make it through the entire song. And how do we do that? Through When you experience muscular fatigue, you're essentially running out of fuel faster than you can replace it. To continue that metaphor, what we have to do here is improve our ability to consume and replace that fuel. For vocalists, you can't build up stamina the same way that trainers or other trainings that build up external muscles. This is because weight trainers work their muscles to the point of fatigue, where trauma occurs to the muscle, which will lead to muscle growth. For vocalists, there are so few delicate muscle fibers that by using this method, 1, you won't create much growth, and 2, that growth would hinder your singing ability due to the lack of space in the airways, so it would just kind of be a lose-lose situation no matter what you do. So, to build vocal stamina and to avoid fatigue, you need to build coordination through your instrument, which in this case is our vocal cords, and strengthen the supporting skeletal muscles. For our purposes, the muscles used in skillful breathing management. As a guideline for all physical and musical endeavors, I'm sure you've heard this before, but use the big muscles for the heavy lifting. For example, pianists are told to hold their back muscles instead of relying solely on their fingers to avoid injuries. Now for singing, it gets a little bit more complicated because we're dealing with internal muscles, so that big muscle is the optimization and regulation of subglottal air pressure. That sounds like a cop-out because it is, but it is the only way out. I'm sorry, okay? Subglottal air pressure is the air pressure underneath our vocal folds, aka in our lungs, in order to produce sound, which is key for any type of phonation. To increase the air pressure in the lungs, you have to decrease the lung volume, done by pulling up the diaphragm or stomach muscles, which increases the potential power to vibrate the vocal folds. This means greater range and dynamic variation. Now, how do you do that? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's exercise time again, our favorite time. Let's go. First, tighten up your throat and then override that tightness by driving the breath against it. The tightness can be created by over-adducting your vocal folds, pushing the base of your tongue back and down, and or tightening up your constrictor muscles. The breath can be driven by pushing with your abdominal muscles, compressing the sternum down, and or pulling in your rib cage. This is an effective and easy technique that's popular among singers, so you know it's reliable, because I'm not just making this stuff up, all right? I'm not. It's also an opportunity to change your breath management for the better, which, yeah, so inspirational. I'm doing this for your own good, okay? Anyways, exercise 2. This is the foundation of the apogeo breathing technique. That is, raising the sternum before inhalation, making all conscious breathing efforts with the internal and external obliques and transverse abdominis, then keeping the sternum up and not allowing the chest to recoil when replenishing air supply. All this with an emphasis on a high sternum and a fully expanded rib cage. This provides the vocal folds with a higher concentration of breath by using the big back muscles. We're back to it, you know it. Now back onto the whole body. A sense of overall balance and coordination is needed in order to work on the technique and to express oneself musically. As Miss Claudia, once again, our savior, states, increased physical coordination can also have a great effect on technical vocal work, as it includes breath coordination, alignment, and articulation. All great factors in influencing tone and the power of the voice. However, as far as movement and dancing is concerned, in order to be able to coordinate both singing and dancing, you have to feel confident in the moves that you're doing, because singers often forget to breathe when they begin to focus on movement patterns, which is obvious, but still worth noting. So the main idea is to practice the dance to feel very confident with the steps and to practice the dance a great number of times to build up the stamina so that when the voice is added, breath management won't be compromised. But an important part of dance that sometimes people forget about is to maintain good posture. 30 minutes of daily exercises and stretches must be done every day. I'm sure you've all seen those diagrams of the shoulders back, head straight, chest up posture. And yeah, that's exactly what we want. Sorry folks, no pop tropica posture here. Pilates is also the recommended exercise/cardio for singers. With its focus on the core, Pilates really gets you to feel the breath going to places where people normally don't feel it. In the lats. You know the lats. Into the obliques. And this is where singers are going to need it the most. The more conscious you become of where the breath is going to different parts of the body, the easier it becomes, and then you're building muscle evenly in all the different muscle groups that impact the breath. The ideal singer posture is the best. However, when dancing/in movement, it's expected to be in, let's just say, different positions and still have to be able to sing stable. So the best thing for those situations is to have a strong core. Like I said before, a stable core is a stable life. I'm just kidding. It's just a better ability to sing in different positions. Okay, that was a lot of information, I'm sure. I know. But don't worry, because this is the end. I know. Don't cry too much. Here, you know what? Let's go over all the topics that we learned today. So number 1, the history and uses of auto-tune. Number 2, the variations of idle performance. And finally, number 3, stabilization. Now you may go forth into this world with this information and enjoy that one NCT 127 concert stage just a little bit more, now that you know all the effort that went behind it. I hope that you enjoyed. Goodbye.